So I was kind of alluding when you got here. I was alluding to you that I can't recall if we've actually met. I know I've known of you for a while. You used to record a few times at Soilo's house.
Oh my gosh.
And
Yeah, that's so long.
Yeah, because I
So
remember
long.
the first time I heard you was Solo a Broken Heart. You did the intro to that album. You were singing in the very beginning of that.
To what?
Soul of a Broken Heart. He had like a compilation
With different artists.
with different artists.
Yeah.
And there was some Spanish, there was some English. You were singing in the beginning of it. I was like, yo, she's kind of dope.
Kinda.
Find out.
Say no,
Forgive me. But at the time, I didn't know who you were. You know what I mean? But for about 5 months, I actually stayed at Soilo's house in his basement. Mm-hmm. And there was a time where I was down there in this little makeshift room, and I heard you singing in the studio. You were singing something for Madsen. I'm going back like probably 10 years.
Yeah.
So I'm saying all that to kind of let you know, like, your music, I've been hip to it for a while. And then, of course, I saw you performing Speak to My Soul.
You were there. You went to the play?
I was there, yep. My wife and I
awesome.
went to the Ware Center, yeah, which it was a phenomenal, that whole experience was, emotionally charging and just awesome. And so, like, getting you on the podcast, I tried a few times. I know you were kind of like, listen, I'm in my season right now. I'm doing some soul searching, and I respected it because I wouldn't want you to do something you were uncomfortable with or not ready for. Then, obviously the conversation that I'm looking for just wouldn't happen.
Right.
But what was it that you finally reached out and said, hey, I'm ready? Where were you at that point in your life where you were like, you know what? I'm ready to have a conversation.
I would say, so like when you reached out the first time, I was definitely in this I was in this weird in-between space where, for a long time I wanted live music, mm-hmm. and I wanted to just like perform with a nice group of musicians, and I ended up in like 3 amazing bands.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, like this is where I'm at, and I was loving it. I loved every part of it. I was gigging a whole lot just last year. But I would say like, and it wasn't just last year with like the gigging and everything. I would say I started singing when I was like young in church. And then when I was 12, I started writing.
Okay.
When I was 15, I started performing.
Okay.
Yeah. And back then, I was in this group, like this Latin group called Envy Me. And it was a bunch of different music artists, like reggaeton artists and stuff. I'm sorry, I like jumped.
No,
I totally jumped.
Go for it. That's what I do. Go for it.
I don't know. It was just like not. I was gigging a lot, and I was getting paid for these gigs, which was nice. Everybody wants to make money doing what they love.
Sure.
But I still had this void inside of me, or like this like hollow part of my being that nobody really knew or knows like existed or that was existing, And I think it was a mixture of just like, the music, the performing, and the work as I've done like mental health and direct care, educational stuff with kids for the past 8+ years.
Okay.
So, all of it was like becoming kind of taxing, actually. I was getting lost in other people's recovery. I was like performing a lot, but it wasn't like adding up, you know? Like, in a sense where you do stuff for like generational wealth and stuff, right?
Okay.
Like our time here, like this is all I've got, know? And so, excuse the words, but like it felt like not shits and giggles, but it just felt like kind of vain.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is cool and all, making money and all, meeting nice people, and it was a beautiful experience, but it wasn't like, I think it was just out of alignment with my spirit.
Okay.
And more so that I've become more consciously aware of my spiritual assignment here.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more aware I become of that, the more in alignment I'm required to be in to be able to like float through this physical state of experience and being, and show up to the job and also do what I was like sent here to do.
Yeah.
So I just got a bit like hectic, and I kept feeling this like draw in my spirit to just like slow down.
Okay.
Slow down. Some like health stuff came up, and that was just like another way of being like, yeah, just slow down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some health stuff came up, some stuff in my family came up, and it was just a lot happening all at once, and I could never really fully be present for either thing, it felt like. And so like I haven't like performed or recorded anything
So
in
you took
over a
break,
year.
break.
Yep,
Wow.
in over a year. And actually like a lot of people, I feel like, I've, like you said, over 10 years ago, you heard something that I
Yeah.
did,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of people, and I would say, in the most recent, and it's, I don't really pay mind to like, I used to pay a lot of mind to like what it looks like to someone, what it's supposed to sound like, when it's supposed to be done, or getting caught up in the expectation of deliverance. And, I've heard people say things on context of me like, she's lazy, or, like with a voice like that, she should have been, famous, or she shouldn't be here.
Wow.
Not taking into account that I'm a being,
Yeah.
I'm a human being and I have a life. And with that life comes like trauma, comes like mental health, comes like the side that people don't see,
Yeah.
They just see like, she's got a talent, she's not doing anything with it, what a waste.
Right.
And to hear people talk like that about you, without having any idea what happened yesterday,
Sure. I could break you down.
it could break you down, and it has broken me down. Because nobody wants to, especially like me, I'm just like, ah, pues está bien. Like,
Yeah.
if that's
Yeah.
how you
Yeah.
feel, if that's fine. Like before I used to be like, oh my God, I can't believe they would say something like that. But now it's like, está bien. Like, I don't feel like to need, like, I don't like to wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yeah.
I have safe people. They're my safe spaces. I'm open and vulnerable with them. But I don't feel the need to tell people like, oh, actually I was dealing with this because of this. And do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
No, absolutely.
So it becomes a bit extensive where like people expect that from you. And it's like, I don't want what I love to feel the pressure of society's expectations, or to feel like I have to like share all my pain
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
for
yeah.
you to be like, oh, that's why she didn't do this. Or, people are like, oh, that's just an excuse.
Right.
Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah.
Why I was ready. That's why I was ready. I took a break. And I took things into deeper perception. And, I spent time with my creator, and I spent time with my family. And, we held space for hard conversations, and we held space for healing within ourselves. And that was like huge for us, and it's something that in that particular season, I wouldn't have had space for.
Okay.
I could have missed it.
Otherwise.
Yeah. Because I was like not there, not present, always doing something, So I found like, although the conversations had were like hard, like as far as like in family, like in like depth, so grateful to had the time to be there and say like, hey, I'm so sorry I missed this. I didn't know you were going through that. You know what I mean? So it's been lovely, actually, just like slowing down and realizing like what it means to me to be a musician, what it means to be to create, what message I want to portray, what I say in my music is really important. And a lot of people don't know, but long story short, like I have 2-3 projects.
Oh, okay.
Like full blown projects that just never made the surface.
Okay.
For the first one, I was like, I ended up dating my producer, and we were in a relationship, and we made like awesome music together.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we broke up, I didn't have the
Yeah.
music. You know, it was a goner.
Gotcha.
You know, for like 2.5 years.
You mean you didn't have it literally?
No, I literally didn't have
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
So it's like work that just, you know, and y yo con confianza, like in confianza, like, oh, you know, this is my partner, my lover, you know,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
outside of this, we're musicians and we're, you know, we make art together. Didn't think like when he vanished, the music would vanish
Yeah.
with it, you know.
Yeah.
So that was my first like takedown, you know, really like hurt me. A whole project gone. Second one, I got into a partnership, and you know, without having to like elaborate on situations, I ended up going through the same thing. You know, it wasn't like huge, but I had like, you know, a solid 10 song project done. And that was the first project. I didn't get back for like 2.5 years. The second project, about a year and a half.
Wow.
So by the time I get these projects back, it's like I'm not the same person I was.
Yeah, I was about to say you're rediscovering.
I'm not the same
an
person
old
I
version of
was. I
yourself.
don't
Yeah.
resonate with some of the stuff that I said, or I'm better than that person that recorded that, you
Yeah.
know? And people are like, oh, it doesn't matter. It's like, we don't know it, so it's new. But I'm like, no, that's my work. You want to put your best work out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I took the L on those projects, you know?
Okay.
So that really like broke me down a little. And when I first started singing, I was like singing in reggaeton groups and everything.
Yeah.
And I was 15, you know, and I was just like, oh my God, I can sing, you know, I'm going to the studio. Hey,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
and everybody was like hype, like, oh, ya le mete, you know. And so I was just excited to be in a studio at that time. But I like very quickly became like, you know, oh, cántame este coro, like come sing this chorus, and just out of eagerness to like be there and do
Yeah.
stuff. I was like, okay. That got old real quick, and I realized like mad love for my reggaeton community, but I realized like I'm not a reggaeton artist,
And that's cool.
and I don't
understand that,
necessarily want to like sing about
Yeah.
particular stuff. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So it's just like, and the imaging too. Like back when I was in that, it was all about like the boobs and the high heels and the makeup,
Yeah.
and I was 15.
Yeah.
You know, so I was like, oh, I really don't fit in here. You know.
Yeah.
So it's just been a whole journey.
Well,
Literally.
the cool thing though is, like when I'm listening to you talk, a lot of the things that you were saying, a lot of people that I've spoken to have said the same thing, and like honoring your energy, recognizing how much energy you're wasting and or putting into places that don't need it. You're recognizing that the focus wasn't there. You needed to realign yourself. You mentioned some people don't even get to that point. They just kind of get lost in themselves, as opposed to being able to be like, let me take time for myself and actually enjoy the process of rediscovering yourself, because that's fun and beautiful, and it's also, it can be hard and difficult, but if you're really genuinely invested in yourself, it's not as bad as what people, it's kind of like, I kind of equate it to like, there's like a load off your back where you're not responsible to be anything but in the moment,
In that moment.
right? And it's
Right.
almost like, let me just be here then and be at peace. So I can appreciate that, because like I said, a lot of people they just get lost in it, and they don't understand what's wrong, and they keep forcing
Right.
what they think they're supposed to be doing. So obviously, you know, like following you on social media, 'cause for a while, even like you even took your socials down. Am I correct? So like it was, I couldn't really kind of follow you, but I kind of got the vibes that this isn't really something that you kind of just picked up recently. The whole listening to yourself, protecting yourself, honoring yourself. Has this always been something that has been a presence in your life from a young age? You said you started singing around 12 to 15 years. Like, talk to me about this.
Like when it started?
When it started and like how, because you're not just somebody that's like, yeah, I honor myself. I mean, there is a presence about you it's actually like, like engaging. Like people like myself, like I wanted to talk to you, like not just like interview you, talk to you.
Right.
So talk to me about like this whole presence that you have about yourself. Where did it come from?
The presence. Okay, so not the music.
No, not the music. Yeah.
Okay. That's really funny. I get that a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a compliment, it is. And sometimes like I appreciate people that want to talk.
Yeah.
You know, or that are willing to listen.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Because a lot of people are like, why are you like this? What do you practice? What do you believe?
Yeah.
What have you been through? You know, and then you're like, voila. And they're like, oh, she's off it, you know? Like she is gone. What drugs is she doing? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And sure, I've done a fair share of drugs,
Sure.
like being fully transparent.
Yeah.
I actually did a really long, just being fully transparent for about 7.5 years. I went on a psychedelic, like healing journey.
Got you.
So where I wasn't like introduced to like psychedelics in form of like raving or festivals or anything like that. And once I was introduced, I was like, wow, like this, it became something much more deeper than just like having a good time, or, you know, how they have like mushroom clinics,
Yeah.
or they
Yep, yep.
do like LSD, you know, to treat like PTSD.
Yeah.
And I have a healthy list of like mental health diagnoses,
Gotcha.
you know, but I'm not like schizophrenic. I'm not loony. I don't hallucinate, you
Yeah.
know. Point being, outside of psychedelics, I don't like give glory to that era of my life. I'm not saying that psychedelics saved my life or anything. I'm saying like there was a time when I journeyed through that and just like took the time to like rewire some of the programming. You know, like you see I kind of like see the brain. The brain is like a computer, you know, and you start to be programmed and conditioned in a way as soon as you like enter the world. You exit the womb. You can hear already while you're in the womb.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so you start to pick up things, or just as simple as like you have an insecurity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's with you. Now you're an adult and it's with you. Like you don't like, you know, something about you.
Yeah.
But really, let's say in some messed up world, it's because like one of your parents used to tell you about that a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, oh, you know, do this. Like, so then you're like, you pick up that thought process and you make it yours. Because now you're like, oh man, I really like this side of me, but not like this side of me.
Yeah.
And, you know, to pull the program on that would be like, that's not even my thought. That was their thought. And I made it my own. So just like pulling out those programs, you know? Yeah. Went through this like 7-year, what I thought was like spiritual journeying or whatever. And I did do a lot of healing, you know, but at the end of it, I was like still really empty.
Okay.
You know, like I know this presence that you talk about, right? Well, I know that, like, I believe in God, right? I believe in Jesus. I believe in the Holy Ghost. I believe that my God is 3 in 1, and I feel, you know, with all parts of my life, that I've always been very connected to that, to my Creator. And I'm very aware of we have God-given gifts
Right.
outside of this 3D world. They're like supernatural in a way, you know. And so you'll have people that, you know, they'll be like, I believe in the God of the Bible, or I believe in this,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
split the sea open,
Yeah.
and, you know, the ark and the angels. But let your friend tell you that they've experienced something like,
Sure.
and be like, oh, she's
You're
gone.
crazy. Yeah. 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 Right.
She's gone. Or like, hey, you know, like, so I became aware of those gifts at a really early age, like when I was 6. And I won't, that's a podcast for another time.
Okay. I'm
But
about to
when I was
bookmark
6,
that right there.
yeah, I went through some ages, you know, outside of like traumas, you know, childhood traumas. I went through also, it's like I've always lived in this like spiritual existence and this physical existence
Right.
at the same time.
Okay.
Even though at one point in my childhood, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand what I was seeing or what I was experiencing or why. But I say that to say like I experienced some childhood traumas, and then we weren't a part of like any church or anything, and then we became a part of a church. And I don't say this with like disrespect to any people of any religion, but I was a part of like the Pentecostal religion. I don't know if you know.
I don't know too much about it.
Tú
But I know
sabes
of it.
eso. No,
Yeah.
Fuego. No. Just joking. But it wasn't great.
Okay.
You know, it wasn't great. The greatest part for me was that I came closer to my creator, and it started to make sense to me. Some things started to make sense, you know, and I always felt like no matter what was happening, that spirit was close to me.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I went through some pretty like culty stuff, like super cultish, you know, and for my experience in the Pentecostal religion as a young girl was very traumatizing.
Yeah.
You know, very traumatizing. And actually the closest the closest I've been to like demonic work.
Really?
Yeah. And so this is the part of me where it's like, oh, I want to know Naiby why she's like that, you know. She's like, what did she say? They did what to her?
You're saying in the Pentecostal church
Yes.
we're talking about
Yes,
demonic work.
in my childhood.
And okay.
Yeah, as far as like, you know, like a legion of demons being summoned into me. Like, and that sounds obnoxious.
No, I hear you though.
You know, but a lot of some people just don't realize, or maybe it's just not their experience. You know, I've never been one to like push my agenda on someone. I don't have an agenda.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, I was just born, and a lot of shit happened to me.
And this is just it.
And I just try to, you know, like heal and be a good person. But so super traumatizing, you know, being in the religion, and it's scary too. The stuff I just said.
Yeah.
A pastor
I would
summons
think, yeah.
some stuff, you know, like it's not like a movie, it's real, you know. You have to think like, where do people get the inspiration for this kind of stuff? It's real stuff.
Yeah.
So when we left the religion, I was very lost, you know. Like before going into the religion, I was kind of like battered and bruised, you know. And like I always wear like, I didn't wear shorts. I didn't wear like dresses or tank tops, or like very just like, I was like kind of like the girly tomboy, you know what I mean? And I played field hockey. I boxed for a little while with Barry Stump. But yeah, I did that for a little bit. So to uproot me from like this like sheltered, bruised kid and throw me into religion, that stripped me of all my safe zone. Like, you know, I'm Pentecostal now, so now I was wearing like skirts and like dresses and like we couldn't do anything. We couldn't, I mean, not that I painted my nails or did anything, but like couldn't do your eyebrows, couldn't cut your hair, couldn't wear anything that passed your knee, couldn't, I mean, like like you could wear chapstick.
Yeah.
Chapstick.
Yeah. That was the
that was like,
that was as far as it would go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like really twisted. So when I left there, you know, I was like, am I going to go to hell? you know,
Because you had left it, so you were
because like,
thinking.
you know, I cut my hair off and I like rebelled in a
Yeah.
sense, you know, and I was like, you know, I was like wearing jewelry and I was like wearing pants and I wanted to get piercings and I
Yeah.
got tattoos and oh my God, my abuela, she was like, you're gonna
Yeah.
lock
Okay. Yeah.
yourself,
Yeah.
you're gonna lock yourself out of heaven and all this stuff. I said, you know what? I don't want no parts of that God,
Yeah.
you know, no parts of that God, because like my experience through my religion, it's destroyed me,
Sure.
you know, and there were people that would, you know, like stand on the altar and give sermons and lead the youth that were just so twisted that they looked like what they should look like.
Yeah.
They had the skirts. They didn't have piercings or jewelry or they didn't have anything. So I was real traumatized coming out of religion. And that led me on that 7-year stretch of just like
Gotcha. Okay. So that makes sense then. Yeah.
trying to figure things out. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I didn't have a church and I didn't have a pastor and I didn't have anyone. So I just had me, some abilities that I'm aware of, I know where they come from, but like not anything to really connect to. I was so mad too. Like the Bible was like the last thing I wanted to even read.
Yeah.
You know, especially like, you know, going to ancestry, you
Yeah.
know, knowing like genocide, you know,
Mm-hmm.
chiefs burned at the stake for like not accepting the God of
Right.
the Bible
Yeah.
and, you know, just realizing like people do evil things in the name of the Most High, but not necessarily that the Most High is evil
Yeah.
or, you know.
Fair enough.
So
yeah.
I wasn't like my faith. I would like to tell, you know, I like to tell people like my faith, you know, now don't get me wrong. You know, I had my things like, oh, the Bible's man-made. There's so many different versions, and God knows what's, you know, Bible's like Google, and you know, I've
Yeah.
heard, and I've also been a person that would say things like that. My journey around this time, you know, I don't fully understand everything. I don't know everything or anything at the end of the day, but it's like now perceiving the Bible, it's different. It's like it comes to life, and it's like it speaks to like your DNA in
Yeah.
a way, you know.
Yeah.
And I find a lot of grace and healing and guidance and instruction. But I went through this 7-year stretch, and I did like every psychedelic except for like ayahuasca, you know.
Okay.
I even did like a combo inclusion. Like I did so much stuff just trying to figure out who I was, why I was here, why I could experience certain things that other people couldn't, or trying to find people that also
Right.
were
like
in
you.
tuned with that.
Yeah.
And the thing was that you don't have, and it's really like bizarre. Like at that time, you didn't have people in the churches talking about you serve a supernatural God,
Yeah.
but you don't think that you're capable of
Yeah.
supernatural
Yeah,
things.
yeah,
You don't
yeah.
think that the God of the Bible is the God of today. And so I was like, I didn't have anybody in a church like community or anything like that. I was like, I need to find like a shaman or like,
Yeah.
I need to find like some people from, you know, my lineage, you know, Tainos that are like still practicing. I need to belong somewhere. I need to understand my soul, my spirit.
Yeah.
So I went diving down all these rabbit holes. I really did. You know, and I tried everything. I did the, you know, the mushrooms, the LSD, the DMT, the all the things.
Yeah.
You know, and I've sure I've seen some things, shifted some mindsets, reprogrammed some stuff, but it did.
So you kind of ended up right back where you started
Yeah,
in
it
a
was
way.
flatlined. In a way, it kind of was worse because I started, you know, what they call like, you know, for a little while, people would then see me for like, I don't know why. I guess this, you know, this presence, but like they'd be like, "Oh, she's a witch." Ella una bruja.
Oh,
You know what I
wow.
mean?
Gotcha.
Oh, you know, she has to be one of those or da 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 da. You know, and I never identified as such. I never said I'm a witch.
Yeah.
I do magic. I cast spells. You know. a person in alignment knows that spells are words,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and there's power in your tongue. And you don't have to be a Wiccan to like
Oh yeah,
curse
absolutely.
something or
Yeah.
to wish well or wrong to someone. And I was never a witch, and no, you know, whatever. If you're a witch and you identify, that's totally fine with me. I'm not casting my judgment to anybody. I just personally never identified, but was always identified as such.
Okay, gotcha.
You know, even in my family. They're like,
Gotcha.
oh, ella vino pa acá, and then I crashed my car.
Yeah.
It's because she was here.
Wow.
Oh, she left this thing in my house. And it became really crazy. You know, like, didn't fit into the church, didn't fit into nothing. And I was like always being written off. So I'm like, so, you know, down the journey, just trying to figure things out. So yeah, I like, you know, picked up an oracle deck, you know, like a reading.
Okay.
Like, oh, I like, you know, the oracles. Like, I like to like translate this. Like, I don't necessarily want to perceive someone's future or anything, you know, with like tarot. And so I thought it was like a safer place to be. And those things are very real, you know? They're very real. But they're almost too real.
Okay.
As far as like, you saw me flip a card, but in the spiritual realm, you blasting doors open.
Okay.
You know what I mean? You
I got
blasting doors open. And that's what I realized for myself. I don't want to speak for other people's experience, but I realized that I went so far into searching for my why that I had opened so many spiritual doors.
That can sometimes be
I almost
scary.
went mad. I
Yeah.
almost went mad. Because you don't necessarily, I don't even know, well, what's happening. But because it's like, I do in a way exist here and there at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
And so realizing what I had done, just trying to like, you know, my mom would always say, tú no necesitas eso, you know, everything is inside of you. Just like, you don't need that. You always had this like way to do this. Like, you don't have to do it with anything else. You know, I would tell her like, you know, I would do silly things like, oh, Ma, like, it's nothing bad. Like, you know, like, I pray before I do my readings. And in what world can you pray to the Most High and do sorcery at the same time? In what world, right?
Yeah.
So, like, in a real spiritual world that is very real, like, in between this space, between you and I, there's a spiritual existence. It's really here.
Yeah.
I had opened so many doors and I had no idea what would come through them.
Yeah.
And in long story short, I saw a lot.
Okay.
I saw a lot. I came into counter with a lot. And it was the like not being on, like not even on a psychedelic.
Yeah.
That was like,
Okay.
okay, this is like real.
Yeah.
Super duper real. And I felt for a good season, like, you know, I did Speak to My Soul. I did, you know, the 108 project. I did a whole bunch of projects. Throughout that whole time, though, I was just, like, finding ways to, like, stay busy to, like, just exist, like, normal. You know? Like, oh, last night, totally met an interdimensional being, right?
Oh,
that sounds obnoxious, right? But then like that happened and now I have to go to work.
Okay.
How can I help you? Did that really happen last night? Like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not loony. I'm not like.
How are you handling stuff like that? Because
so
that's not something that
no,
is.
And it's not something necessary.
I'll
you
think
know,
about this later.
Yeah.
That has to be on your mind
all the time.
All the time, yeah.
So, and I've never really spoken about it, let alone on like a camera or on a recording, you know. But it's I've been away for about a year, and I think the time is just like now to just be who I fully am, openly and transparently, because there's other people that need to hear that.
Yeah.
You know, they're not crazy. They're
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
you know, so I couldn't handle it. I was like losing my stuff, you know. I was like a zombie. I was like dead inside of a living body.
Mm.
And I am like the queen of like, it's not a great thing, but I can mask my way through anything.
Okay.
You know? Like, oh, she's so happy and she, you know, what a grace, you know, and what a presence she brings to the table. And then like I go home and I'm just like, you know, like
Yeah.
just like drowning. And so I was dead in a living body for about 1.5 years, and it was really intense. And I experienced and saw some beautiful and scary stuff. And that's what, after like 16 plus years, to be really honest, that's what brought me back to Jesus. That's what brought me back to alignment with my faith and with God. And it's all like propaganda and like, oh, you know, hip to be like, you know, like people are making stuff like brujeria seem like it's like bubble gum.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
there's some real stuff happening.
Yeah. Especially in today's day and age.
You know, there's some real stuff happening. And you know, I and to say this, I'll be like, oh, she's one of those. No. You know, back then, oh, I was a bruja, and now I'm one of those.
Yeah.
You know, so no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, I don't condemn anybody. I don't any of that. I just speak. You know, when you ask me why you're like that,
No. Yeah.
I say because I've been through a lot of darkness.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of darkness, and I've had to like pick it all up, and like just still be. And I was suffocating, and I was like living and dead at the same time. And this sounds like really bizarre to say like on camera, but like there is a dark kingdom, and there are dark forces and dark principalities and dark regions.
Yeah.
And the way I journeyed so far, that entity was coming to consume my spirit.
Gotcha.
You know, I'd gone too far
Yeah.
and accidentally contracted with the wrong thing. You know, and that's not like I was like, you know, Ouija boarding or cards or nothing.
I
No,
understand exactly what
nothing.
you're saying,
No
yeah.
chicken claws. No, nothing. It's just all it takes is your curiosity is the door. You know, that's all it takes is you opening, you not being aware of what you're doing in a spiritual reality and not being really conscious of what you're doing. And then your world is falling apart and you're wondering why,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, that goes back to when you said the doors were open.
Yeah.
One of the things I remember being told when I was a kid, because I do acknowledge things like that, and I'm not one to I believe that it exists. And I remember having conversations with my parents. My dad was always I grew up I was forced to go to Catholic church, grew up Catholic. So it was very strict in my household.
Right.
Puerto Rican, Roman Catholic.
Right.
It was
right.
like, don't fucking piss me off.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I will-
yeah.
You know, my grandmother pulled me up by
That's
the ear
okay.
if I didn't stand up fast enough for church. But anyway,
Yep.
God rest in peace, Abuela. But anyway, so well, I say this because like my dad was always very like he didn't want to talk about things like that, but I knew my dad believed that it existed, but didn't believe like we don't talk about things like that. Where my mom was a little bit more like, stay away from these things, this, that, and the third. Be careful. There's people that they're messing around and they don't know what they're doing. You open a door. If you don't know how to close that door, there's going to be problems. I never really understood it entirely until I got older and I started experiencing things on my own that I always was like, why am I always having these experiences, you just alluded to the same thing. Like why I would like to find somebody that experiences the same thing as me. I talk about this often with my wife, that a lot of those experiences for me stopped when my life when I was in a better place in my life, all these heightened senses that I used to have stopped. But I've always been hip and aware, like negative energy, people that give me bad vibes. Sometimes you don't have to know why. You just got to know, like, just don't. There's certain people I've stayed away from just because my gut was just telling me this energy, this force, there's something here. It's not for you.
Right.
And it's always served me well to just like respect it, as opposed to being like, I don't believe in that shit. And the next thing you know, I opened a door that I don't know how to close. And I think a lot of people laugh at that because of the movies and the reality TV shows that have come out with stuff like that. And a lot of it is bubblegum-ish, but the origin of all that shit's very, very real.
Very, very real.
And so I applaud
ancient,
you. Yes, it's
like
it's that real.
It's that real.
Yeah. But to be vulnerable enough to talk about something like that.
Yeah, I didn't see that coming.
No, yeah, and well, neither did I. I genuinely was.
My mom would be like, "Oh my God, ay, ya lo hizo esta nena." Ay, Dios mío.
No, but you know what? Like, I think like a lot of the things that that we talk about in our age group, our elders, for the most part, I'm not all of them, but I'm sure some of them are probably like, "What? What are you talking about? Don't talk about those things." And I'm always like, yeah, but these are things that we do need to discuss, because there's somebody going through something, experiencing something, having these feelings, and not having anybody to kind of go, yeah,
like part of my,
if you had somebody
a spiritual deception
there
was being able to resonate or relate to people in these like, new age or like spiritual communities, like secret like pages on Facebook at the time, or like being able to, because they were speaking about these bizarre, like surreal experiences. So I'm like, oh, okay. They experienced that, like what, and that's how you just go from here to there, and then. So, I don't know. Now, really, it's just the presence that I carry with me is the grace of the Holy Spirit. Jesus saved my life.
Yeah.
And so I'm fully committed to his calling over my life, and showing up to that assignment correctly.
Yeah.
And that means a lot for me. Like, sure, I'm a woman of faith, but I also like was broken down in religion, so I'll never want to make someone feel like they're less than, or like I'm more than them, or how they made me feel, which even now, look at how I present, people like, because what does a Christian person look like, or a person of faith look like, even? You know what I mean?
What is a person of faith?
But I still don't necessarily like I stand out in the congregation, okay? Like, mira esa, you know what I mean?
Right.
I visited a church one time, and I swear this man, I went to say hi to him, he like jumped. He was like, oh, and I was like, oh shit, I must have scared him, like, oh. So, I still don't necessarily fit anywhere, and it's okay. And I don't want to say that, I do attend Christ Safe Church. Pastor Mikey Quinones, he's amazing. I love it. I love it there. But I'd be lying if I say I necessarily felt like I fit in,
No, but that's fair to say.
I want to be transparent, and I want to just exude that like support and that love and that transparency and the vulnerability, and to just be a good person, and like I have friends from all cultures, of all different backgrounds, in all communities. Like I don't write off anybody else because they're not in my same faith or anything like that.
Right.
I mean, no me importa. You know, for me,
Right.
it's like, look, I almost was like murdered
Yeah.
while still having a living body. And that's really real to me. So now it's just like, I have faith, you know, and if you want to ask me about my testimony, I'll tell you, long story short, the kingdom of hell came to swallow me up.
Yeah.
Jesus saved my life, you know, so now I'm just, for the most part, moving differently, but still with a place of openness and love to everybody around me, you know, because that's what we need.
Yeah. That would make sense. That why you were so able to quickly hone in on realigning yourself. And when I said that some people get lost in that process, but for you, it seemed like you were able to be like, hold on a minute. It's probably because now listening to this story, and I know that this is only such a micro version of it, but
And it already sounds so
but
crazy.
no, but listening, it doesn't sound crazy at all.
I was
but,
like, oh man, I know it's gonna go there, and it just does, you know.
No. But listening to it, it's like I get it now. Like to experience something like that, and to then so many years later feel yourself in a limbo. It's like whoa, let me back up and put some shit together because
Yeah.
we're not going to go down any other road.
No, I was
here.
done.
Yeah,
I was cosmically bored. Like, I'd gone down every rabbit hole you could think. Like, I studied all faiths, backgrounds, all different things. I opened several elements,
Yeah.
and I was scared.
Yeah.
I was scared.
Yeah.
Once I realized all that I'd done, I was really scared, and I needed help. And I realized like there was no ceremony I could do. You know, there's no sage stick you could wave at a demon. You know, you know what the demon does when you wave a sage at them? They laugh in your face.
Yeah.
There's nothing. You know, and that was my brutal reality that I realized that there's nothing of all this research and all this work that I've done that can save me from what's about to consume my soul.
Yeah.
And so that's been my past year, just like being like, okay, just learning to listen, learning to be still, being very conscious about what I do, about where I go,
Yeah.
who I sit with, and just trying to stay on my assignment, you know. What's my assignment? I told you I've been in mental health care, health field for 8+ years. I'd like to get like a nursing degree and also develop a music ministry and kind of like do like travel nursing, but take the ministry with me to where like I'll go visit different places and sing and, you know, do worship, but also share, you know, medicine. I've been into like holistic medicines and different things like that. And so just like gaining more knowledge on that, being able to travel, take that with me, and help to heal people and just share this grace that saved my life with people. And then once I'm done with like the music ministry and everything, like I really just, like I've contemplated like being like a foster mom. Like I really, yeah, for, you know, boys and girls and everything. But I wanted to do like therapy through like art and music and cooking and gardening and, you know, animals and but I really have like a heart for boys, for men, you know. I feel like there's a lot of resource for women, and even then it lacks, but there's not enough attention on men, you know, on men's mental health, on boys that then grow into men with mental health, you know. So just like holding a space for that. Yeah, medicine, music, the gospel, and like just being a home, being a home to broken teens and broken kids, and you know, like being a wife and having a family. Like I'm really simple. I don't want a lot of stuff. Like I don't care. I've never cared to be like famous. I've never cared to. I don't care about the numbers. I don't care about the following. I like you said, I erased my platforms. I started from zero all over again.
Yeah.
You know, because before I was living on that expectation, on that time loop where people are like, oh, she's like in her 30s. Like, is she still trying to pursue a music career? Like, if you worried about my timeline, you worried about the wrong things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm at a place of like peace with my creating process and what it is that I want to do in this world. And knowing that along the way, I will meet people that are ready for those kinds of conversations.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that we'll be able to feed each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's it. That's the presence. A lot of dark stuff, a lot of childhood trauma. I think you go through a certain level of darkness, and then once you do the work to like get out of that darkness, you're just particular about your light,
Yeah.
and you want to be in spaces where people amplify that light instead of take away from it.
Yeah.
You know, and so
You also don't want to hide from I feel like you get to a point in your life where you work really hard to get out of the dark place, and then when you're in the light or a better place, a lot of growth, in my opinion, comes to the point when you realize, when you start looking back and you're like, I'm you're grateful for the dark place. You're not trying to escape it. You just know it's there. Like in my life, I've been working. I worked so hard to get out of the dark place, and then I did, and then I find, I don't know if it's like I don't want to say peace, but it's almost like a humbling feeling when I can remember that time. I don't forget it.
Right.
It's always there.
It's always there.
To kind of keep me like, don't act like this shit can't fucking switch up on you. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've always just been like humility for me is big. Like humble pie every day. Eat it because you have to, because you can get lost in anything. You can get lost in the bad. You can get lost in the good, and there needs to be an understanding of both. And just be at that place where you're safe, you're at peace, you're doing what you feel you're supposed to be doing, you're being of service.
Right.
And like that's like kind of the gist of the podcast is like meeting different people that do that in their own way. Mm-hmm. You know,
and you've got some good ones.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I really love your podcast. I told you that. I keep telling you that.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like, really love what you're doing. Like, love it. Check out
you.
these people, you know.
Yeah.
Like when you asked me, I was like, I'm not ready, but I know a couple people, that.
And I interviewed them all.
Yes, you did. You did. And I love that, you know. There's so much heart and intention behind your
thank you
people that you interview. And yeah.
Yeah, that's the whole point, really.
There's a lot of quality in your interviews. They're different. They're not they're almost like medicinal.
Yeah, I like that. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I've the funny thing is I'm going through a phase right now with it, what I'm starting to kind of like hone in on, not changing it, but there's going to be a shift where I'm really going to hone in on, I want to talk to people. I don't want to interview people, you know, and it's kind of been happening for the 3 years that I've been doing this now. But I'm starting to realize that like what we're doing is what I'm trying to do. And every now and then I get a guest that they can't engage in that level, and that's cool.
Right.
I have to honor and respect that.
Yeah.
I am interviewing anybody, but I'm starting to be like, you know what? Let me take a step back and really assess what I'm trying to do and be more selective of who I'm talking to, so that we can have these conversations that are transparent and vulnerable, as opposed to an interview.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you can have an interview anywhere. But providing a safe space like this, like where people can talk and like share some things. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the. You always commented, and I remember you were like, "I'm not ready, but I got these two people," and I'm like, "All right, but I'm just saying, I really want to talk to you." No, but I interviewed them all, and I'm grateful.
Yeah.
Talking about going back to your music, it's fair to say people that are listening or watching this, if they haven't heard you sing, you can sing. You're very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is it's good to listen to. It's good. It feels good to hear. You have a style. You have a sound. Considering everything that we've spoken about, has that played an impact on the music, on how you sing? You're not just making the music that I listened to was always so raw and real and deep and emotional. It wasn't like you're making radio ready music for the sake of, like you said, the numbers and
Yeah.
Can you talk to me about like when I know you took a break from it, but the overall gift that you have of song,
Mm-hmm.
like, can you share that with me?
Sure. That as far as like, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. I think what I'm trying to ask,
Like what's happening like now?
no, talk
with
talk
it,
to me
or?
about you have a style. I spoke to Shug at the very beginning of this season. I said the same thing to her. There's something about your style, your sound. It sounds medicinal. It sounds therapeutic. It sounds and so when I'm listening to what you're telling me, I'm starting to kind of like,
does that play a part?
does that play a part in how you're singing? How when you're making your music, when you're writing, when you're performing, or did that play a role in it at all? What you experienced in your life?
I would say yes, because for the most part, the stuff that I've written about, you know, like not like the single that I have out. Like the single that I have out is a fun song,
Sure.
you know, but like the stuff that nobody's ever heard,
Okay.
you know, they were very transparent as far as experience, because I've always thought like I could probably sing about this experience better than I could talk about it. You know,
Okay,
it would
yep.
be perceived in its own way, but it's a song. It's not like a conversation. You know, so just seeing the song as a conversation and a message, you know. But yeah, I would say that all my experience does like in a way make the song inside of me be what it is. You know what I mean? Before I used to think that my voice was just like pretty.
Mm-hmm.
But now I know that it's like a weapon in a way, you know? And it's medicine in a way too, you know? So I think the year off was just like being very contemplative on how I use it, you know,
Okay.
on what I say, on how I say it, and making it count. So it's like, how do I do that? You know, like, how do I, you know, I remember just like, I remember conversations with God, like, I finally, you know, I'm like in 3 bands now. I'm performing. I'm making money, getting ready to, you know, put this project out. And you want me to stop? And the Lord's like, yeah, I got something for you on the other side. If you just listen to me and come over here, I gotta show you something. You know what I mean?
Don't worry about
And I'm
it.
like, yeah. And I'm like, oh man, but this is like really nice. This is what I really want, you know? And I've had some gigs that were like, okay, this is really crazy, but for a little while, I was just like, you know, performing and doing all this stuff, and it was great. And I'd had this nudge, you know, and like, I know I went to like prayer one time, and like they were just, and the prayer was something like, like God has like big things for you. And, like, everybody hears that and whatever. But like God kept showing up with that same message.
Yeah.
Like I need you to like listen to me so it can make this count for you, So it was like the end of a Room of Rhyme show.
Okay.
That I hosted with Dom.
Okay.
U Street puts on these like super cool shows. I don't know if you know.
Yep.
And this woman, she just comes out of the crowd. It was at the end, and she comes to talk to me. She's like, "Hey, like, hi, can I shake your hand?" And I'm like, "Okay, She's like, "I don't know if you're like a woman of faith or anything, but like, the Holy Spirit wants me to come over here and tell you that that He doesn't just want you on a stage. He wants you across the globe. Like, you won't need anything, like, lean in." And I was like, "Now you came to my gig, like, what happens if I don't listen, I don't want to be like, oh God, I should have listened to you, On my heart is like, And at this point, like I did say very dramatically, there was this darkness that was consuming me, and so coming out of that, I was like, oh man, I told you, like literally, I was like, you tell me where to go and I'll go. You tell me what to do and I'll say it. You tell me what to stop doing. Like whatever you want from me, save my life and I owe you everything, right? Then I was like, oh man, like you want me to do what? To sit down? To just give it all up? I remember like the last band that I joined was Beautiful Migration with Kieran and with K-Rock and Amelia.
Yeah.
Honey, K-Rock's music, Amelia's music.
Yeah.
Imagine the three of us together.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
It was pretty obnoxious.
Okay.
It was pretty obnoxious. Like I was in love with us. I really was. Yep. Yes, I was. I was like, oof, I was like, this is the one, like I was in other projects that I really loved too.
Yeah. But
there was just something about the way we all, like the chemistry that we shared was like electric, we were all just really good at what we did and we just flowed together. And I was like, uh-oh, like this is it was just the opportunities that were coming that I know would have been like,
yeah,
which is great, everything I wanted, but
sure.
Like my spirit was like walking the edge, like, okay, that's gonna be nice. It's gonna be really fast. Are you ready? For that and this at the same time. And I was like, no, I almost died. I'm not ready, So, so I was like, man, I'm really sad. Like, I don't want to like, but I had to take the slow down. Sometimes it's not like a slow down. It's just like a processing time, a downloading time, a evaluation time,
right.
And like I said, a lot of things came to light. People gone, friends gone. It was also very necessary. And I'm at a place now where like I am working on new music and but I'm doing it on my own time.
Yeah.
And I am going to release music this year.
Okay.
I'm not going to give no dates.
Okay.
Because, like, whatever, y'all just got to wait for it. Like, get off me with all that. You know what I mean?
That was going to be my next question, but all right.
Stop it.
All right.
No, but, but at this point, it's like, whatever. If I'm 40 when I drop my first project, you're welcome.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm at a place of peace with it. I'm at a place of understanding with it. And I'm saved by such a beautiful grace that I don't feel overwhelmed by my God-given gifts anymore, because I have the manual now, and it's not like It's not like Google or an angel number that I Googled or YouTube or a deck or a body. Or, it's not even like sure, the church is nice, the fellowship is great, but this time around, it's really just me and God.
Yeah.
You know, I don't care to fit into anything. If I don't look decent enough to you for me to stand on the altar and worship, then I'll walk across the land and sing. You know, I don't care to fit into anybody's agenda. I don't care to be on their timelines. Money is nice and everything, but it's not. If I walk in my obedience, I don't need anything. You know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
For me and my reality, there's a time after this. And I know I'm going to be good.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, that's where I'm at.
One of the things that I've always, as I get older, I understand more and I appreciate is like there are some people that are chosen to bear more of a responsibility than others in a sense of what am I doing? What's my purpose? Where am I going? There's a lot of people that have that going on, but there are certain people that have like this responsibility that they have the strength to bear it. And what I mean by that is when I'm listening to you talk and you tell me everything you've gone through and that you kind of came back around and you're at this place now where you're at peace, you're aligned. There's such a responsibility there. You could very well just be like, I went through so much shit and I just need to be left the fuck alone.
Right.
But you are putting yourself in a position to continue being of service in your own way, trying to be present in your own way. Like that's a responsibility that a lot of people don't have, that inner strength. I was talking to my cousin a couple of days ago and I was telling him this, which is ironic because I never spoke these words before, and I've said it now 2 times in less than a week. And I said, there's some people that just have, they just have more of a responsibility than others. Mm-hmm. You know, sometimes it's almost like, why am I dealing with all this? And I have all this going on, and this schmuck over here, I don't got to worry about nothing. You know what I mean? It just so happens that God has a purpose. I believe that. Like, there's a reason why that people have those moments in life and that they have so much responsibility, so much to know. There's sometimes where I'm like, man, I wish I didn't have to, I didn't experience some of these things. Right. I don't want to know this shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know, like I don't want to have the emotional intelligence to understand it. I would like to not have that.
Right. Can I be one of those?
Yeah. Like, can I tap
I'll be one of those.
Let me just be a guy that just sits there and just says, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
And just lives.
I don't want to see the in-between spaces.
But it is also like it's a gift that there are times where I reflect and I'm grateful that I have that insight. And so, like, I'm assuming that you have that as well. That's part of your coming around where you're at peace with it. It's back to my comment where I was like, you see the darkness, you know where it's at, you respect it, you just don't go there anymore because you learned what you need to do to put yourself in a position.
Yeah, I never tried to go there. I was just trying to understand.
You were just trying to find something.
I was trying to understand, you know, like why am I walking through my house if I'm sleeping? I didn't study astral projection. I didn't read a book to learn how to do that, you know, but I've done that 5 times in a month. So what is happening? You know, I was just trying to understand this stuff that I was experiencing outside of like any drug. Yeah. Because let me tell you, if any of the drugs that I've tried would cause me those real spiritual experiences, I wouldn't do them. I wouldn't do them. I would rather not be aware of that, see that, experience that, feel that. I mean, now it's like And people get me all twisted, man. I'm so human. Like, sure, I'm finding my way back to my first love, the Most High, you know. Sure, I'm trying to be in full alignment, on assignment, on purpose, for a purpose. But I'm not a saint,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, yeah.
I have my moments, I have my things. Yo no soy una santa.
Yeah.
You
absolutely,
know?
Yeah.
Who is? Who is?
Right.
You know, that would be like, I'm sinless. Said who?
Right. That's a liberating feeling though, to know that and to be like and to own it. Like I'm not.
Yeah,
not
because
that.
I feel like even then, like, you know, and then like, not for nothing, but like you say Jesus, and people are like, oh, rah, rah, rah.
Yeah.
You know, you'd be like, oh, I'm Buddhist, I'm Taoism, I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, I'm a Jew,
Yeah.
and you say Jesus, and they're just like,
Yeah.
you Jesus freak, die. And I'm like, why are you so mad at
yeah,
me?
Yeah.
You, jeez. God, forgive me. Look, you see, it's like, come on.
I
You know,
appreciate
but
it. I dig it.
yeah, I'm here. And I'm very aware of my God-given gifts. And I'm not afraid of them anymore. They sometimes still be like, oh my God, what was that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, because some stuff is a little like scary to see and experience. But there's a reason why I can see that. And there's a reason why I'm experiencing that. And like you said, this like obnoxious responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing about it is, for me, if I would like be like, all right, like I know this responsibility that I have, but I'm done with it. I just want to like live normal.
Right.
I want to like just be normal and just go to work and like work on my goals and everything and like put that like spiritual responsibility aside and like don't even want to deal with it. I would die.
Yeah.
Literally would die. With outside of this saving grace, there's nothing here for like. And I'm not saying like, oh my gosh, she's all blue and depressed. I'm just saying like cosmically
yeah.
cosmically bored.
Yeah.
Because I just already experienced, are already so consciously aware of a spectrum of things that's like outside of the saving grace. I'm like, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
I can't handle it. Like outside of that grace, like it's overwhelming. So I go far, far, far away from it, which sometimes look like self-sabotage.
Gotcha.
You know, like sometimes looks like a manic episode, you know? And so I'm totally in the saving grace now. I love where I am. I love the music that I'm creating. It's not just, I don't want to say it's not just like, I will say that the music that I'm going to create, yes, it will glorify the Most High. Yes, it will bring glory to God. But I also, bringing glory to God is also like meeting people where they are.
Yeah.
You know, being transparent about my journey. I'm not, like I said, I'm far from a Santa.
Yeah.
You know, like bringing people and sharing that darkness through the music, but into the light, you know, and also like sharing those moments where like there was like no light, you know, there was just a lot of pain. So it's not just going to be like Jesus music per se, you know, it's like, it's my heart in music form.
Gotcha.
With intention and purpose and healing and liberation, you know. I believe that now that I recognize my voice as not just a medicine, but also as a weapon in the spiritual realm, because scripture, it says that the worshipers are at the forefront of the war lines.
Okay.
We come to brace the environment. We brace for impact.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Okay.
It's why, like, when you go to a church service, like, you have the worshipers that come, they sing, right? They're bracing and covering the space with harmonies and melodies and like anointing and oil, you know? So now that it's just different ways. Like before I used to be like very flight or fight, very reactive person. And now I just pray.
Okay.
You know, that's how I win my battles now. And that's how I protect me now, you know. Before I'd be like, yo, you was saying what? You know, or like, pull up.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, now they're like, oh, she's so loving like, honey, you don't even know. Honey, I put her to sleep. That's why you don't have no idea where I've come from, what I've done, what I could do.
Right.
But, you know, I just give it all to God. And I'm really just grateful.
Yeah.
This year has like opened my eyes a lot to a lot of different things. And I've learned a lot about myself. Also like, I want to say like, also like, I'm 32. I'll be 33 this year. But just when I turned 30, I was diagnosed with ADHD, right?
Okay.
And I also have a manic depressive disorder. And I also have PTSD. And I also have anxiety hysteria. I'm a couple of stuff. But
Yeah.
I was diagnosed with ADHD just in my early 30s. And, you know, I worked in the school systems. I've had students with ADHD. I've had all this stuff. But more recently, my mom was like, ya tú eres una vieja. Like, here's all your papers from schools that I've saved over the years. You know, and there's like the following of the like development of my brain.
Yeah.
How I'm learning and so all through all those records, it's like needs reteaching, having a hard time focusing, needs to be separated for testing, you know, having a hard time translating what she's reading, or like all this stuff that was like, yeah, this kid kind of needs help, right? So outside of like going to work and paying the bills, and then like the space in the middle, the spaces in between, being like, wow, and finding a balance there. I was just like, always like just feeling like I was being crippled by my mind, where like I was showing up and I was doing and always doing, but like feeling like I wasn't like completing anything, or just feeling like I was like, I had all this mojo and then it was gone, you know, and on top of like PTSD and manic depressive. And to be a manic depressive, it's like, you could wake up and be fine, and one day you just wake up and you're like not like, you know, sometimes I cry, but like it doesn't mean like I'm just like a sob story. It just means like sometimes I like fully disconnect, and it's like not one feeling but every feeling, but no feeling at all. It's like just super like this muteness.
Yeah.
And you know, now and at my age, I'm like, oh, okay, we're going to have one of those days. Let's be graceful.
Gotcha.
You don't want to do nothing after you get out of work. That's fine. You know, watch a movie, whatever. Do what you need to do. Yeah. And it's okay. Yeah. You want to turn your phone off and not talk to anybody for 2 days? Do it.
Gotcha.
You know? So now I found different coping mechanisms and different ways. But ADHD in itself, I thought, you know, what a lot of people think, oh, they just can't pay attention. Mm-hmm. It's so much deeper than that.
Gotcha.
It's so much deeper than that. And when you don't realize that you're that's what you're dealing with, and then you have things like anxieties, or like, oh, and I have like a sensory thing.
Yeah.
You know, where like I can't pull up right next to a car at the stoplight because like I can feel like I don't want to be looked at.
Okay.
You know, like being here is like I said, super out of my comfort zone. Yeah. I don't want to be on that camera, you know. And that goes back, you know, to my childhood, like being in an interrogation room where there's, you know, the big mirror, and there, you know, that there's people behind the mirror and they're just watching you, you know. So it's a lot of like, and then you have like ADHD, and what ADHD does is that it triggers every other diagnosis you have. It amplifies it. So then you're just like manic depressive, having like flashbacks, having anxiety, and then
wow. Yeah.
And it's like, what? You know, like your brain is at like 1,000, but you're like not even moving. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
So I told my doctor, I said, I don't know what's going on, but I need help, because I went on that 7-year journey, right? And I was like, no, I'm not. I've seen what medications can do to people. I've had patients check into to recovery centers, signing full signatures, then leaving with like lithium toxicity, not chicken scratch signature. I've seen the harshness of the medicinal world, and it's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna find my own spiritual way.
Right.
And God's like, well, I gave you a doctor that got a medicine, like whatever. So, this year, past 2 years, I've really like held space for mental health. I went through a lot of really tough stuff that I kind of just like kept growing and like, trying to heal from, and just kept going. And the thing is, like, you could keep going. You could reach the goal. But if you don't deal with that root, it will always appear in your work, in your passion, in your relationship, in your friendships. It will always appear. You have to go to that root, and you have to work with it there. Like, you have to. And I just was like, Superwoman, like, what did you go through? Oh, until you sit down with someone and you're vulnerable, and you're like, yeah, I had to do this, and I had to do that, and this is what happened to me. This is who did it.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh,
yeah,
I had no idea. And my thing is just like, so then be a decent human being. Like, you don't have to know everybody's like trauma to just be a decent human being.
You just got to know that someone's going through something.
Or that they went through something and they have a way of being, and
Yeah. I've always wondered why people just can't like get that part. Like, you don't have to know the ins and outs. You just got to know you ain't the only one.
Yeah.
And then kind of like handle people appropriately,
accordingly.
Right.
Yeah. Like, oh, like for me, like when I'm at high water, right? High water meaning like there's a lot of stuff happening. I'm feeling kind of overwhelmed. I go ghost.
Okay.
Like ghost.
Friends,
I don't care
family.
about no algorithm, analytic. I don't care.
Yeah.
Friends, family. Like, it's not that I don't care about them. It's just that in that space, I know that I need to just be.
Right.
And I don't necessarily like, I have people that, are like safe havens for me, where I could be like, look, I'm feeling really dismantled, and I'm feeling like really dark, or I can be honest with them, and I know that they're not going to like, like sob story me or like write me off. But I really don't share that with people, because it's just not who I am. Not that I hide my pain or anything. I just don't wear it on my face.
Sure.
And above all of that, yeah, the great thing is that like Jesus saved my life.
Yeah.
Jesus saved my life, and I'd rather go through chaos with Jesus than go through chaos without Jesus. Well, and that's where I'm at.
I think the beautiful thing about that too, like, and I've never been one to like really, I don't preach a lot, and that's not who I am, but I have my beliefs, and I do believe in Jesus. But the cool thing from what you've told me is like, that's the, Jesus is on the end of it. As opposed to like, you went to church when you were younger, Jesus was here, you then got caught up in everything and you got lost. It's like, no, this is where I came back, and here I am. Jesus is my savior, this, that, and the third. But I've got all this here that we need to embrace and acknowledge it, as opposed to being ashamed of it, because the end result is still, there's Jesus. And I'm always a big fan of that, because I don't know, there's more, it's the grit, it's the realness for me, that I can appreciate. So like when you kind of like didn't know what to say, and you were like, hey, Jesus just saved my life. That's like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
At the end of it all, it's like, that's where you are in your journey, is being able to go through all that and still stand here and proclaim that.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people don't go through things and they can proclaim it. I'm not saying they shouldn't, but I just feel like to be able to go through that and still proclaim it is pretty badass.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
it is. It feels it too. It feels it too. Cause listen, I wasn't supposed to make it. My family wrote me off. Everybody wrote me off. I was like the black sheep of my time.
Gotcha.
I was like, I started performing young, so I was like, she's gonna be the first one pregnant. She's gonna be a drug addict. She's gonna drop out of school.
Yeah.
Like all this nastiness spoke over my life. And like, I'm not a drug addict. I graduated.
Yeah.
Don't have any babies yet. I would love some babies.
Yeah.
If I don't have my own babies, I'm definitely gonna foster kids and like adopt, because I would like to experience in this like physical timeline, a family.
Okay.
And a home. I love the idea of like waking up before my house and making breakfast and packing my husband's lunch or packing taking care. I love to love and I love family and I want my own. So like that's like forget hitting all-time spins on Spotify. Like I would love a family. You know what I mean? So that's where I'm at.
Well, typically when I wrap up my interviews, that's like one of the questions I ask is like, where do you see yourself, or what's the goal, or what would you like to be doing? But you've already hinted that there's a chapter of your life that you're looking to fill, that you're open to, which is having a family, having a spouse, a husband, being a woman of faith that nurtures in that regard as well. Is like, I was going to ask, like, when your music and your career pauses and you take this year and here you are now, do you feel that has put your alignment has put you in a place to be like, now I see things clearly in that regard? Or were you always wanting that part of your life? Like, Naiby is here only because of the journey that she took the past year? Or was that always part of your...
I think it was always part of it, but I needed that standstill to really put things into perspective. And like, the evaluation period.
Yeah.
But now I know what I'm supposed to do. I know that I'm going to do it. I know there's going to be some trials and tribulations, but I'm coming in hot.
Yeah,
I'm coming in real hot. Yeah. I'm coming in real hot. And like, I don't know. Like I used to tell my parents, be like, Christian music is like whack, and like, and back in those days, because I was super religious, I was like, but why does Satan have all the best music? Like
secular music.
Secular music is awesome, And no, but I'm coming in hot. I'm coming in hot with some kingdom music, and I'm gonna be real bold about it. Yeah.
Are you sure you can't give me like any information about when this music
this year that's what I'm gonna give you or anyone. So definitely before the end of the year.
Okay it's a long time.
Okay, no, it's not like at the end of the year, but so the plan is to release a couple of singles.
Okay, all right.
And an EP.
Okay.
After the EP, I have like some features that I want to do with some people.
Okay.
And I also have like an a cappella project thing that I'm cooking up with Sister Shug,
Okay.
So yeah, there's a little drop. I got this new machine. It's like a RC3505. It's a 5 vocal loop station.
Okay.
So just like being real artsy fartsy with like harmonics and melodies and just transcendental spirit. So EP, singles, EP, this like super cool vocal thing.
Okay.
So being honest, like the album probably won't. It'll probably be like the following, like the beginning of the
but
following.
that's a
year.
nice build up.
But that's a really good build up,
Yeah.
and there's like visuals along with it, visuals planned with it.
Okay.
Like for that. I don't know if it's for the EP or for the album. Probably for the EP, but without saying too much, I want to do it like a sound but visual
Okay.
project.
Okay.
So the EP won't just be like music releases; they'll have like visuals.
Okay.
So
I
it'll
got you.
be
now.
a whole little thing.
Okay.
I'm really excited. Yeah. Yeah, I'm really excited.
I
I
like
just
it.
really am. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for you.
So I've been writing a lot of music. I don't want to say like a lot of music, like I got mad hits on the tuck, but
No, I dig it.
I've been writing intentionally. And I love what it feels like, because I was like, always had this pressure of like, oh, if I become like, there's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
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 And it's like, oh, she's like, she's a Christian artist, or like, I don't even, sure. I don't even like necessarily like to be like identified as like Christian.
I dig it.
And like sure, like I like, yeah, like that's where my faith is or whatever, but like I don't like to identify with nobody's labels, because like that's how I lost. I don't want to say like I almost lost my faith because of the label, because of the box that people try to put God in, or try to put you in, or so like I follow Jesus. I follow the truth. It's not a religion, it's a way. And I don't feel like God ever called for a religion. God called for a relationship, Scripture says like, depart from me, I didn't know you.
Yeah.
Not I didn't know the good stuff you did. It says I didn't know you.
Yeah.
Like he wants not religion, he wants relationship.
Yeah.
And then to even break that down for them, be like, oh, why are you calling? He's a man, she's a woman. No, God is spirit. God is spirit. And, at the end of, I was saying about like my soul perishing, right? Because the spirit will go back to its creator, but your soul can perish.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like, let's say like your soul perish, like your spirit goes back to its creator.
Okay.
Your soul can perish.
So the spirit and the soul are two different things?
So I know that sounds really out there, but like,
No. I'm just curious. Yeah.
I realized that only because I was like dead and alive, right?
Okay.
Where it's like I have like a conscious soul, or I'm here.
But you felt you were
But
dead.
Yeah. It was like two separate things. I don't know. See, That's a whole other. That's a whole other.
That's another podcast, Naiby.
Ay, santo. How long have we been sitting here? Glory be. No. So to wrap it up, yeah, I been through a lot of stuff. A lot of like really dark, twisted stuff. Between religion and family, and I didn't have a clear view at the beginning. And then I was just existing under people's expectancy of me. Yeah. Like once upon a time, a long time ago, when I lived in New York, I had encountered this group, that they were signed to Sony. And they got in contact with my mom. They're like, oh, we'd love to songwrite for your daughter, and like, put this in front of Sony and all this stuff. And we were like, oh yeah, cool. I was like, oh my God, Sony?
Yeah.
And so at this time I was living in Queens, Jamaica, and I went all the way to Gun Hill in the Bronx. It's like a 45-minute train ride.
Okay.
And the guy, like before I leave, he like tries to kiss me, and like he wouldn't like let me go. So there's just a lot of my journey that like people don't know about.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just been like getting through, and then like dismantling people, their time, their agendas, and then figuring out you know, then there was all the rabbit holes and all the doors, and it was crazy.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
Life is full of rabbit holes and doors. Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I think you did pretty well for being pretty nervous and shy.
No, you're not supposed to say that. That was what I told you when the camera was off.
No, I think the cameras were on for that part.
Oh my God.
I think so.
Yeah.
How do you feel though? But all jokes aside,
I feel like cool.
Yeah.
I feel like very relaxed, and I feel like, you know, this is very much so like a conversation.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm like answer the question, you know, we're like necessarily like, I don't think I was gonna come in here and say some stuff that I said. You know, I'm like, oh my gosh, like my other brain, my ADHD brain is like, oh my God, what is it gonna look like when I don't know.
Don't worry about that.
So I'm not worried about it, but I don't know. It's a very safe space. It feels very authentic.
Cool. Thank
Very
you.
real, you know. The lens is a little intimidating to me, not necessarily the interview.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
But very beautiful space. Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for the tea. Yo,
Yeah.
y'all slept on the JMC mugs. Like, come on.
I know. See,
Yo, I'm ready.
I gotta reintroduce
Look, I'm taking
them.
this one.
I'm gonna have you. Once I introduce them, and I'm gonna tag you.
Right.
I'm gonna get Naiby. I'll send you one.
I'm gonna get one. I'll take a picture with it, and everybody will want one. No, I could be a beast. I've just been in hibernation, and it just I wouldn't be a beast with grace. So, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Be a beast with grace.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful way to say it.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, Naiby, thank you so much for joining me. I've been looking forward to this conversation. This did not disappoint. I would love to have you back on sometime in the future.
Yeah, we could talk about all the other stuff off of camera.
Yeah.
So because, honey, if you want to know some stuff.
We're going to say, well, the thing is, though, like I said, I'm going to be redoing this with the platform. I don't want to give too much away. But what I'm trying to do after some time, when you've got the music out, and we can get back to where we leave off here, because there are some things that I would like to tap your brain a little bit on, and even get some of your perspective and some things like that as well. But as they say, that's another podcast for another time. Huh?
Yeah.
Naiby, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. That's it. We're done.
All right. Bye.